just having a drink. I'll be back just right now for our very next segment with our keynote speaker, Nicolette Mashile. So while I go back to the Zoom call, you watch this. So what tip would you give to creative talents, entrepreneurs, or influencers in regard to setting that first rate? So value, knowing the value, which is really key, but then how to then put that in monetary terms?
But you must be valuable. You can't say you are costing on value if you're not valuable. And what makes a person valuable is being able to remember that you are the asset. You know, the unfortunate thing about people who work as influencers, and I call them people who work as influencers and not influencers, because I can't stand the word influencers. Because no client is buying you or using you because you're an influencer. They're buying you for your influencer. So it is important for you to have influence. So, and that influence is ultimately what value is, right? Now, you gotta be a valuable asset. So what about you makes you different from a Moyen? If we're saying we're talking to, for instance, let's say we're talking to an FNB, what about you sets you apart from the next person that FNB can tap into? And that's important, you know. So you need to be able to recognize your value and then recognize how you're going to structure your value in terms of how you work. So the realities of life is that you can't run away from billing based on time. Time is a structure, right? So what time allows us to do is that time is a structure. So when you take the time and then you match it up to the value that you've got, so you've got to have a base, and your base is what is Moyen's hourly rate, and that's your structure. Then you say, okay, Shaq, my hourly rate is the least amount of money that I am willing to take for me working on this specific campaign. Then you've got to say, okay, Shaq, if my hourly rate is 2.5 an hour, how much is my value now? How much is the expertise that I have? So what is my expertise? I have influence because I've got the social media numbers. I have authenticity. Girl, I can speak English. Girl, I know I've got information for days. And then what is your secret weapon that you've got that again will set you apart from the next person? So you need to have your time valued and your value valued, or your influence valued. And together with, and if you are lucky enough, for instance, if I actually had a qualification also in finance, girl, the prices that I'm charging now would shoot up. That's why I start off by saying it is important for people to understand that they are an important asset. And because they're an asset, when you are an asset, you want somebody to invest in you. But what about you am I investing? So the same way if you are buying shares from a Coca-Cola, you know that if they say to you Coca-Cola shares are R1, you're going to be like, am I really buying Coca-Cola shares at a R1? If they say Coca-Cola shares at 10,000, you are still happy to pay Coca-Cola share at 10,000 because you know Coca-Cola, the brand. You understand the brand. You know the magnitude of the brand. You know what the brand's going to give you. So I think it is important that people carry themselves as assets even before they understand that they need to be billing. So and it's okay to walk away from a brand that doesn't want to pay you what it is that you want, because hell, the reason you've got those prices is because there's a brand that's willing to pay, and it's better to wait. So I hear people here saying, yo, I'd rather have 5 brands that are paying you 5,000, and then at least you're making 25,000 versus you waiting for the one brand that's going to pay you 30,000. I'm sorry, I will wait for the 30,000 rand because I'm not going to be backtracking and moving backwards.
That I've noticed for especially creators, talents that didn't work in advertising, like you who saw big budgets, is they have money blocks. So it's kind of hard to see themselves earning that amount of money because we're kind of trained to only get that kind of money for like a month's amount of work, unless you've been able to, you're privy to other information that shows you that no, this is the level at which certain work, content, influence can actually reach. So what would you say to people who have money blocks? Because for some people, 10,000 is already a lot. And to some people, then 10,000 is change.
Look, I think the first thing, and I have this conversation with quite a lot of people, is can we start talking about money? And I don't know where, there's no law in South Africa that says you're not allowed to tell the next person how much you're getting paid. The problem is that that's what employers and brands have driven, that idea of let's not talk about how much you are actually being paid by the brand. Because I was actually having this conversation to say, it's funny because I'm on a campaign right now, and I look at some of the influencers or influential people that are put on the campaign, and I'm like, I know for a fact this person is earning more than me, and it pisses me off. And it's simply because we don't have those conversations, right? So when you don't know how much other people are being paid, that's when you get that block. But also when you think you see, there's a very dangerous thing about humility in this country that we like to peddle. We tell people be humble. It's stupid. I hate it. I hate that whole be humble nonsense, because that whole be humble nonsense is why people are underpaid in this country. It's why people don't know their value. It's why people don't know their influence. It's why people don't know their expertise. It's why people are not sure of who they are, and it's problematic. We need to stop this idea of telling people to do this fake humility nonsense. And I'm not saying, and it's, by the way, for you to be able to understand what I'm saying now is for you to be able to understand that the opposite of humility is not being rude. And I think that's number one where we've got a problem with, that people in this country have made this idea that if you are not humble, it means that you are arrogant. It's not true. If you are not humble, you can be very assured of yourself. And we need more people to be clear on who they are, what they've got to offer. So when I ask you as Moyenne, what do you bring to the table? You should be able to confidently say, I bring 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When you don't bring those things, you just like, I'm just Moyenne who does content. No, you're not.